Hey guys, my name is Blitz, and welcome to another episode of Monday Mailbox. This is a video series where you, the viewer, can submit your gaming-related questions, and then I will give my humble opinion on them. To get the formalities out of the way real quick, if you'd like to submit your own question that could be featured in an upcoming episode, you can do so by leaving a comment down below, or by sending me a Facebook or Twitter message. The first question for today comes from Samuel, and it is, do you feel that Blitz needs a nerf? I feel that he's way too overpowered. So I definitely understand where you're coming from on this one. Going against a good Blitz player that knows what they're doing can be a nightmare to deal with, especially if it's a 1v1 situation where Blitz excels, or if you're playing as a 3 armored operator like Rook, for example, and you don't have a lot of coordination with your other teammates to try to get a flank off. It basically feels like it's GG. That said though, if we actually take a look at his pick rate and his win rate according to Ubisoft, they're really not all that impressive. He's right there smack in the middle between Ying and Capitao. I think most people would argue that those two operators are on the weaker end of the spectrum. Now this might be due in part because these are Platinum and Diamond players that we're talking about, and for the most part these people understand his weaknesses and are able to take advantage of that and deal with him accordingly. But for your Golds, your Silvers, and your Bronze players, the vast majority of the player base, that might not be the case. And so for those people, he might seem like he's overpowered and his pick rate and his win rate might be much more substantial. I think one of the biggest reasons though why a lot of people find him to be frustrating and quote-unquote overpowered is that when he does work, he really does work. When Echo stuns you, for example, yes, you're at a pretty big disadvantage, but it's not an auto loss. If you step over a Legion Mine, once again you're at a disadvantage and you start to take some damage, but then there's an interaction between offense and defense. When do I take out the mine, or do I continue to ADS for someone who's trying to round the corner to take advantage of that situation? That's what's great about these different interactions. When Blitz enters the equation though, how many times have you thought to yourself, oh great, he's 2 feet away, or he's about to round the corner, I know it's GG and there's nothing I can do about. That sense of helplessness is really present when you go against this character, and I think that is the reason why so many people don't like this operator. And so all in all, I'm not really sure what Ubisoft could do to change him. I think this really just comes down to the fundamental flaws of this operator because it's really just built into his character. What can you do to make him feel balanced but also not completely overpowered in some situations? It really just seems like it's all or nothing for him. Either in some cases, he's terrible, he's not even able to close the gap, and in other situations, he is, and then it's just over for the other team. How do they make it so he's not so binary or all or nothing? And so let me know what you guys think about this character. Do you think that Blitz needs any changes? Do you think that he's in a good place right now? If you would nerf him, how would you go about it? Give me your guys' thoughts down below. The next question simply is, are you going to be getting Battlefield 5? Yeah, I'm actually really excited about the next Battlefield game because while I know a lot of people are a little disappointed that it is not going to be the most authentic experience, even though they've already talked about and explained that they're trying to make it more authentic, it's not going to be as crazy as that first dreadful initial reveal trailer. Everything I've seen so far and everything they've talked about, at least gameplay-wise, sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. One thing I really appreciated about the beta, for example, and something that they brought up continuously, is that there's going to be less of an emphasis on explosive spam. They even say that they don't really even have plans of bringing in mortars, and if they do, they're going to be in a limited capacity. They stated that yes, one mortar isn't a problem, but when you have 10 people on your team mortaring the other side, especially when it's on a linear game mode like Grand Operations, for example, that's where you run into problems. This was one of my biggest issues with Battlefield 1. Yes, it was incredibly cinematic to have all of these explosions happening around you while you're pushing the objective, charging in with your team, but when you get taken out over and over and over again by literally something you can't even control, that's where things get really frustrating. And so to have everything more focused on you and your primary weapon, and that's a thing that you're going to be taking people out for the majority of the time, was something I really appreciated about the beta. Now, one issue I know that many people had during the beta, other than the cosmetic issue, is the attrition system. Many people felt like this was a solution to a problem that never existed in the Battlefield series. By limiting the amount of rounds that you spawned in with and having no reliable way to get HP back after you took some damage, just left to a lot of frustrating moments where it just felt like you were constantly scavenging paying for more resources. Thankfully, DICE has realized that this was an annoyance, and they've already said that they've made some dramatic improvements to this system. Not only are you going to spawn on in with a health pack that you're going to be able to use whenever you want, but you're also going to get more rounds when you scavenge them off of people that you just took out. You're going to spawn in with more rounds, and you're also going to have a larger pool when you get resupplied from a supply station or from your friendly support players. And so I think overall, the system, while it is going to be limiting compared to past Battlefield games, I think one thing I enjoyed about it the most was that it forced you as a player to think more about the situation. And so a long story short, I could go on and on. I am really excited about Battlefield 5. I'm hoping that this is going to be a return to form for the series. Battlefield Hardline and Battlefield 1 were fun, but they felt like a bit of a misstep, at least for me. They were nowhere near as engaging as BF3 and Battlefield 4 were, and even though those games had their problems, they had their issues, I invested a lot more time in them because at the end of the day, their gameplay and just really the gameplay loop overall was much more satisfying, and I'm hoping that that is going to be the same for Battlefield 5, but we're just going to have to wait and see. The next question comes from Daniel, and it is, what is your opinion about an offensive operator in Siege that has a drone that could fire darts similar to Legion, where the defender would have to go through an animation to take it out? It wouldn't be able to destroy gadgets to keep it different from Twitch. Well, other than just being a real nuisance to deal with on the defensive team, this could be a great tool for the offensive side of things to be able to deal with roamers. So if you identify that someone is roaming around the map, you guys probably also know that as soon as you drone that operator, they're gonna run away and make it very difficult for you to be able to pinpoint where they ran off to. But if you come in with this guy, quickly get a dart into them, even if they are able to destroy the drone, you know that they couldn't run very quickly or run very far because either they had to go through the animation or they're slowed down, because I'm assuming this functions very similar to how Legion does, where it slows down your movement, or at least you're not able to sprint. And so then that would give offense loads of opportunities to pounce on in and take him out. Now, my one concern with something like this, though, is we have to remember that he is going to synergize with other offensive operators. If you have a Jackal track someone, then you track them down literally with this drone, you tag them, slow down their movements. Now that player can't move very quickly, and everyone on offense knows exactly where they are. That could be very annoying to deal with. You could also have a Lion activate their scan, a Dokubi call, and then also you're now getting slowed down by this drone. And so while I'm not opposed to the very idea, it might work. It may not even actually be all that great because we have so many other ways to deal with roamers in this game, but that's just it. This would be another operator to deal with roamers on top of already the crazy amount of ways that we're able to deal with roamers. Roaming is a key component of Rainbow Six Siege, not only just to slow down the progress of the offensive team, but hopefully take out a couple of people and catch them by surprise with an awesome flank. But the more and more they add in these operators to deal with people that are roaming around the map, well, I don't think it's going to phase it out entirely. Roaming's always going to be important, but that is one thing that they have to consider. And so overall, I think this is a really interesting idea. I don't know if Ubisoft would do it exactly like this because it is so similar to Legion. It's basically him in drone form. But you guys know how I've been talking about lately. I would love to have more drone operators introduced into Rainbow Six Siege, and this could technically be one way they go about it. I don't know how powerful it would be or if it would be too weak, but it is definitely an interesting concept. The next question comes from Nosh, and it is, what do you think about a trading system added into Siege? So I realize a lot of people like this idea because you'll have a cosmetic item either that you purchased a long time ago, or maybe you got something in an alpha pack that you're not really a fan of, you grew out of it, and it'd be nice if you're able to trade it to a friend who doesn't have said cosmetic item, or just trade it to someone so that you can get a little bit of renown, so you can spend that renown on something that you really do like. So that is very appealing. The problem with this, though, and the reason why I would never expect this in Siege, is that first of all, Ubisoft wants to avoid the weird market that CSGO had for the longest time, but also, this just straight undercuts Ubisoft entirely. So if you, let's say, bought a cosmetic item a really long time ago, either with renown or with Rainbow Six Siege credits, and then you try to sell it to someone, you of course are going to sell it for less renown than the item that is in the shop, the physical shop that we have in the game. So if something normally costs 10,000 renown, well, you're gonna go, oh, it's old, so I'll sell it for 5,000. Ubisoft wants you to spend as much renown as you possibly will, so that when you're out of renown, you'll then be more likely to buy their in-game currency and then use that for their future cosmetic items. But now the fact that there's a way to undercut them, like, there's no benefit for them whatsoever. On top of that, they then run the risk of people using the market to then sell stuff for real world money, which is something I think they also want to avoid. And so while on paper it doesn't sound like it would be all that bad, I think in practice and really for those reasons, I just don't see this happening for Rainbow Six Siege. But yeah, guys, that is about it for today's episode of Sunday Mailbox. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you thought about what we discussed in today's video. Are you looking forward to Battlefield 5? Are you not even excited whatsoever? Let me know down below in the comments. As always, if you'd like to submit your own question for an upcoming episode, you can also leave a comment or by sending me a Facebook or Twitter message. But until tomorrow, guys, have a good one and take it easy.